My parents gave my brother the $25,000 inheritance that was supposed to be for me, telling me he deserved it more. They really thought I would just roll over and accept it. But what they didn't know was that for decades, I'd been the keeper of their darkest secrets. And if I didn't deserve their money, then they no longer deserved my silence. So stick around, and I'll tell you how I exposed every last lie and watched the perfect family they cared so much about burn to the ground. For as long as I can remember, I was the responsible one. The fixer. If a tire went flat, a bill was late, or a full-blown emotional crisis was happening at 2 in the morning, I was the one they called. My entire life was just a series of carefully managed responsibilities, and almost all of them were about keeping my family from falling apart. There are 4 of us: my mom, my dad, my younger brother Chris, and me. But really, there were only 2 roles in our house, the golden child and the other one. Chris was, and always will be, their shining star. He could do no wrong. When he scraped his knee, it was a 4-alarm fire. When I broke my arm, I was told to stop being so clumsy. He got praised for basically breathing, while I had to move mountains just to get a nod. It's a classic story, I know. But living it? That's a whole different kind of pain. The only person who ever really saw me for me was my grandmother. She used to tell me, "You have a spine of steel, child. Don't ever let them make you think that's a bad thing." Before she passed, she'd set aside $50,000 in a trust for Chris and me, to be given to us when we turned 30. My parents were in charge of it. It wasn't a life-changing amount of money, but it was from her. It was a final, loving reminder that she saw us as equals. Over the years, I became my parents' all-in-one support system. I taught them how to budget when their spending spiraled. I co-signed for a car when their credit was shot. I was the one driving my dad to his appointments and listening to my mom cry for hours about a fight with her sister. I did it because I thought that's just what you do for family. I thought all my loyalty, my support, all the sacrifices I'd made. I thought it had value. I was about to find out exactly what it was worth. It all came crashing down on a Tuesday. My 30th birthday, of all days. The day the inheritance was supposed to be mine. I went over to my parents' house for dinner, thinking there'd be a small celebration, a talk about the trust. Instead, I was ambushed with a casualness that still turns my stomach. We were clearing the dinner plates when my mom said it, without even looking at me. "Oh, by the way, honey. We decided to give the full inheritance to Chris." I just stopped, a plate hovering over the sink. "What? The full 50,000? My dad chimed in, patting my arm in that patronizing way of his. "No, no. Just your half. The $25,000. Chris is going through a lot right now, and honestly, he just deserved it more. He deserved it more." Those 4 words just hung there in the air, thick and suffocating. I looked at them, really looked at them, and for the first time, I saw 2 people who had used me my entire life without a single thought. All the sacrifices, the money I'd loaned them, the emotional energy I'd poured into their lives, it all meant nothing. My brother, who couldn't hold a job for more than 6 months and still had our parents paying his phone bill, he deserved it more. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. A strange, cold calm just washed over me. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. "I understand." And in that moment, I really, truly did. I understood that I wasn't their daughter, I was a utility. A tool. And my usefulness had just run out. The betrayal felt like a punch to the gut. I went home that night and finally mourned the family I only thought I had. My response was simple, complete silence. I stopped answering their calls. I stopped being their fixer. The next time my mom called in a panic because her internet was out, I didn't spend an hour on the phone with tech support for her. I just texted back, "Sorry, can't help." When my dad's car insurance was due and he casually mentioned needing a loan, one that would never get paid back, I just said, no. The backlash was immediate and it was vicious. My phone blew up. But they weren't apologies. They were accusations. I was selfish. I was ungrateful. How could I abandon them after everything they'd done for me? The irony was so thick you could choke on it. Then, the public shaming started. My mother, the queen of passive aggression, took to social media. Vague posts about how some children forget who raised them and how true family shows up when times are tough. My brother, Chris, was way more direct. He called me, his voice slurring with booze and entitlement. I don't know what your problem is, he snarled. Mom and Dad are really upset. You're punishing them just because they helped me out. It was my right. They know I deserve it. And that right there? That was the moment any last shred of doubt just evaporated. It wasn't just my parents. It was him, too. The three of them were a united front of delusion and manipulation. They had lit the match, but I realized I was the one holding a can of gasoline. And I was finally ready to pour. The perfect opportunity came about a month later, my father's annual family cookout. This thing was his pride and joy. The one day a year he got to play the successful family man in front of all our relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole show. For years, I'd helped him keep that illusion alive. This year, I was going to burn it to the ground. I showed up late, dressed nicely, a bottle of wine in hand, playing the part of the good daughter one last time. I mingled, I smiled, and I waited. My moment came right after dinner, when my dad stood up to give his usual rambling toast. When he finished, I raised my glass. I'd like to make a toast, too, I said, my voice carrying across the quiet yard. A few people looked surprised, but they all quieted down. I want to toast to family. And to secrets. The kind we keep to protect the people we love. My parents shot each other a nervous look. I looked right at them. For instance, I continued, my voice steady as a rock. We're all so proud of Dad for his long career, and so sad he was forced into early retirement. But I've been keeping a little secret about that. He wasn't forced out. He was fired for embezzling almost $40,000 from his company. He was about to face criminal charges, but I drained my entire life savings to pay the company back and sign an NDA to make it all disappear. I kept that secret to protect him. You could feel the air leave the yard. My uncle, my dad's own brother, was just staring at him, jaw on the floor. My father's face was ghost white. I slowly turned my eyes to my mother. And a toast to Mom, for her unwavering support of Dad during that time. Of course, her support was so unwavering that she was secretly having an affair with a neighbor. I was the one who found the texts. I was the one who begged her to end it, not to blow up our family while Dad was at his lowest. I kept that secret, too. My mother looked like she was going to pass out. My aunt, her sister, slowly put her fork down, her eyes wide with horror. Finally, I looked at my brother, who was just frozen in his seat. And of course, a toast to Chris. My parents said he deserved the inheritance because he's had a tough run. But his tough run isn't just bad luck. It's a raging gambling addiction. The money I was loaning our parents for years? That was to pay off his bookies. And that $25,000 inheritance isn't for a fresh start. It's to pay off a loan shark who was threatening to break his legs. I pulled out my phone. For anyone who doubts me, here's the text from Chris from 3 weeks ago, begging me for the money and detailing exactly who he owes. I held up the phone. The silence was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop on the grass. It was the single most terrifying and liberating moment of my entire life. The silence lasted maybe 10 seconds before the yard absolutely erupted. My dad's brother was on his feet, yelling at my father, wanting to know if it was true. My mother was sobbing, not from regret, but from pure, uncut humiliation. Relatives were whispering, their heads whipping back and forth between me and my shell-shocked parents. Chris started screaming at me, calling me a liar, but the proof was on my phone, and the shame written all over his face told everyone the real story. I lowered my phone and looked at my parents one last time. My services as the family's secret keeper have been terminated, I said calmly. You're on your own now. And with that, I walked away. I didn't run. I walked, calmly, out of that backyard, down the driveway, got in my car, and left the mushroom cloud of their shattered lives behind me. The fallout was exactly as catastrophic as you'd imagine. The perfect family image they'd spent a lifetime building was annihilated in less than 5 minutes. They became social pariahs. The family was broken, probably forever. Some relatives cut them off completely, disgusted. Others tried to stay neutral, but it was no use. The trust was gone. It was the nuclear option, I know. And before I tell you what happened next, I have to ask, what would you have done? Would you have just walked away quietly, or would you have burned it all down, too? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like stories about justice finally being served, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps me out. So, where am I now? Honestly, I'm in a much, much better place. About 6 months after that day, I moved to a new city. I have a new job, a new apartment, and a sense of peace I haven't felt since I was a little kid. It's amazing how much lighter the air feels when you're not carrying 3 decades of other people's secrets. A few of my cousins and my aunt, my mom's sister, did reach out. They apologized for not seeing the dynamic for what it was and thanked me for finally telling the truth. We've kind of formed our own little family now, one built on honesty and respect. It's smaller, but it's real. I never saw a dime of that $25,000, and I have never been more okay with that. It was never really about the money. It was about what the money stood for, my value in their eyes. Their decision to give it all to him was the most honest thing they'd ever done, because it showed me exactly where I stood. In the end, losing that inheritance was the catalyst for me to gain everything else, my freedom, my self-respect, and my future. Cutting them out of my life wasn't an act of revenge, it was an act of survival. And for the first time, I'm not just surviving. I'm thriving.